What's up, everybody? Happy end of Breeders' Cup Friday. This is another special edition of Blinkers Off. I am Curtis Magic Kellerwood here with the guys, Aaron and Jared. Also joining us tonight, we've got Ricky, the Rocket Man Pasternak, and Ryan Stillman back again to join us. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Happy Breeders' Cup Friday. How are you doing?
What's up? It's good to be here. We're here, and this guy, you can see look at that.
Whoa.
That's pretty cool. No, go back over. Go back over.
Oh,
whoa. That guy. That's trippy. No, we're here in Lexington. We're just a couple miles from the track right now, and so we were there today. It was a great day. It was fun. It was the first live race that I've seen since the Pegasus. It kind of was slower. Obviously, the card underneath the BC was a little bit lighter, fun, but lighter. Then when you got to see Golden Pal and how that race, you got the juices flowing a little bit, and it's the first time you really felt that at a live race in a long time. So that was great. The weather was phenomenal. I mean, it was weird walking around with masks everywhere, and really, other than you basically would see rich owners and some media and people that work there. That was about it. So that was weird, but overall, it was a great day and awesome to be back at Keeneland.
Weather definitely would be the highlight, I would say. We've been to the Breeders' Cup a lot in Kentucky, whether it be Churchill Downs or Keeneland. And let me tell you something, this was the best weather day we've had by 10 links. I mean, it was amazing. It felt like we were at Santa Anita, which is just hard to imagine here in Kentucky. So weather was good. Listen, we're going to talk about the races, so I won't talk about that aspect. But all in all day, it was just a strange feeling. It was just weird. It felt like I was, at Prairie Meadows, but we were watching the Breeders' Cup. So it was kind of strange like that. So anyway, good times. No, it's not a king size bed. Just gonna get that. That's 2 beds. All right.
It's funny that you said that, because when we did the show, like the preview show with Ryan, you guys were in the same room, same setup. And before we went live, I was like, did you guys get, I think Ryan actually brought it up. Did you guys get 1 bed? And you had to make a point of proving it. So
we're up to such a bad
We're really close on these trips. Magic, we like to bond. So
Mackie Man 13. What's wrong with you? So anyway,
okay, I have a question for you guys. Obviously you all were not there. So what was it like watching this not there? And I know the coverage was pretty cool, or at least what sounded like they were going to try to do as far as the coverage with a lot of, we saw a lot of them walking around, filming stuff, in the paddock close to each horse. I saw some live stuff as far as following an actual horse in a race. So how was it watching it, on TV or whatever?
I thought it was really cool. Breeders' Cup, I don't know if this has happened in the past, but they had something you can go on online on their website along with TVG and NBCSN. But you could actually see certain jockey cams. You could see a lot of different angles that I try to get into today, because at least for me, I'm going to try to really focus on more of the handicapping betting aspect tomorrow, and I kind of wanted to take it all in today. That's what I like to do on Friday. So I got to see a lot of things that I normally wouldn't have looked into, different angles, because we could. I mean, I've never been, but I just wanted to see everything. They had jockey cams, they had contender cams, they had some sort of VR cam if you had those type of VR goggles. So I think the Breeders' Cup, at least for today, I'm sure they'll do the same tomorrow. They really did a good job of trying to integrate everyone and trying to give people as many different angles and viewpoints as possible with everything going on.
Ryan, what about for you? What was it like for you, buddy?
Well, I gotta say, Keeneland looks like when you die and go to heaven in Kentucky, that is the racetrack that you go to. That is one of the most beautiful. I don't know. I was only there when it was closed once, which sucks because I always wanted to go. But I mean, is it as beautiful in person as it is on TV? Because I mean, my wife was like, "This is stunning," and I agree.
Dude, it is. And we've been in the spring and the fall, and fall is just it's unreal. It's Santa Anita to us is still the best backdrop, so to speak, at any track. It's just unbelievable. But in Keeneland fall, it's hard to beat. It really is. It was. Today was unbelievable. It was just perfect. The background, the foliage and whatever changing colors, and the weather was nice, so it was perfect.
I don't know what's going on with Ricky over there.
I definitely think I'll echo what Jared says. Honestly, just driving around Kentucky or driving around Lexington, it's just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And if you've never been to Keeneland, when you get off the exit, Calumet Farm butts up to Keeneland. So it's like a mile of Calumet Farm, one of the most historic horse farms, in the country. And then boom, there's Keeneland. So it's amazing. It's very beautiful.
I have to say, every single time in our lives that we've driven by Calumet Farms, any horse we ever see, Haltern says, "Hey, there's Oxbow."
That's true.
Every time.
I bet that's Oxbow out there.
Every time. And sure this morning, he's like, "There's Oxbow."
There it is. I bet that's Oxbow. Yeah, I love Oxbow. I want to hug Oxbow. I really do.
Well, Oxbow almost had a 94-1 winner in one of the Breeders' Cup races today.
And I freaked the F out when I realized that horse was by Oxbow. Because first of all, I said, "Who the F's the 12?" Because come on.
Hot Rod Charlie.
And then 94-1, and I look at the program, and I was like, "Oh, it's Oxbow." But
he's not only Oxbow, he's a half brother to Matoli, so it would have really been something magical if he got the job done there. But you know what? We do have a lot of Breeders' Cup action to talk about. If you guys are watching live on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, thanks for joining us. Leave your questions, comments below, however you're watching. We'll see them, and we'll see if we can get to them. We got a big panel of experts here, and we've also got me, so let's get right into it. The first race of the Breeders' Cup, the actual Breeders' Cup, kick things off with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. And if you knew anything about the Racing Dudes team, you knew that we were pretty damn excited for one specific horse in this race. And it ends up being the big favorite, Golden Pal. He goes off at 4-5, which was a little short. It ended up actually being better than the 3-5, which is when I placed my bet on him and still didn't care. He ends up looking really great, but there was a split second, guys, I'll tell you, I thought that he broke down because he jerked all around from the TV screen watching. He looked like he was hurt. Thank God he wasn't. And he ends up clearing away. A good way to start off the Breeders' Cup with probably the second strongest feeling that we collectively have all had about a horse. Aaron and Jared, you guys were there to see it live. What was it like seeing Golden Pal just the gates open and he's 2 lengths ahead, and then now he's with the pack, and now he's 7 lengths ahead? What was that whole emotion like for you guys?
We were laughing because it was funny because you obviously the draw was really the only, if you were trying to play against him, that was it. And I mean, you couldn't have, the race was off, and then before you could even grasp that the race had started, you're like, "Oh, well, he's 2 lengths ahead," and you're not even worried anymore. And we looked at each other and was like, "Well, I guess the 14 hole wasn't an issue." So, and then about the time you kind of relaxed, he did that weird step or lug or whatever that was, and you're like, "Oh, hang on!" And for half a second, you thought something might have gone wrong. And then you realize real quickly that, no, this horse is just kind of messing around. And this was something. This, like I mentioned earlier, this was the first, the first Breeders' Cup race and the first big race of the day. And it really kind of lived up to the hype. I mean, this was our best bet of the day. This is one of 2 of our overall consensus picks on the guide. So we knew this horse was a strong favorite, and he really lived up to it.
So my theme of this podcast is going to be happiness and excitement coupled with frustration. So with this race, I'll start with the happiness and excitement. I text our good friend who's joining us today, by the way, Ryan Stillman, and I said, "Ryan, that got my blood pumping for the first time in a while. I hadn't been to a live race in so long. Man, that's an elite horse." I was smiling from ear to ear. I mean, it's like we just stole whatever price that horse just went off at, because this race is done. Son, it's over. He's 2 lengths ahead, and the other ones haven't even broken the gate yet. It's like I am cocky as shit. And then I thought he broke down, and I thought, well, that's a lot of fun. The horse breaks down, and then he's fine. I don't know what happened there, but there was only maybe 2 seconds out of, I don't know how long it took him to run the race, but 2 seconds where he thought he was going to lose. And that's when he disappeared in a wall of horses because he took up. Then he re-breaks and he's back ahead, and then you're never worried again. So that was amazing. For me personally, we had a big bet on him, so that was good. We didn't play exotics in that race. But for people that maybe did play exotics, I ran 1, 3, 4, 5, and that seemed to be a theme all day. Winner, 3rd, 4th, 5th, didn't have the 2nd place finisher, and that one really hurt because I had all long shots underneath, and I didn't get the 2nd horse. But anyway, I was really excited. That was really fun to watch.
Jeez, look at those exotics. I mean, you get past the fact that the exact only paid $17 for $1. The super 280, not basically 282 for 10 cents. The dollar try ends up coming to almost 300 there. But you look at the odds of the horses, it seems like everybody agreed with us. It was just pretty much Golden Pal, and everyone else was going to be double digits aside from poor Bodenheimer, who I thought actually had a sneaky good chance in this race, and then he completely blew the start out of the gate there. Lots of great horses here that just really didn't stand up to Golden Pal. Are there any of these horses that you thought ran a poor effort, or were you just so focused on Golden Pal and how great he looked that you're like, you know what, the rest of these, they were just in a different class than what Golden Pal is?
Yeah, I definitely was just, my focus was all along was only on him. This was one of our strongest plays in the guide. So it was just like, okay, let's just get him home. And it was funny too. We were in the paddock there before the race, and like you could just get a vibe. Like the ownership was in there, and it was almost like I heard a few times, "Hey, will you get in the winner's circle with us after this race?" Like they were pretty damn confident this horse was going to run well.
Well, and to be fair, when you saw him, you were like, yeah, because like these are 2-year-old sprinters on the turf. They're hard to saddle. They're kind of acting crazy. Not this horse. This horse was like, hey, I showed up to win today. I mean, he was impressive.
I mean, it's pretty crazy to have a horse that's still 2 and is a world traveled horse. Is kind of goes everywhere, and so that this horse is definitely
he's cool,
something special. That's kind of the theme today. I think is on the turf side of things. We saw a lot of American horses run well like this that might have some international. Their sights set on international races down the road, which makes it even more fun.
Ricky, you've been kind of quiet over there, so I want to know what you thought about Golden Pal. You were like the rest of the racing news team. You had this horse on top in the Breeders' Cup Inside Track wagering guide that we sell. So what did you think about Golden Pal and his effort here?
Yeah, obviously dominant. I don't need to get into it. In terms of the beginning, though, he did struggle in his very first start back at Gulfstream. He was a little stubborn out of the gate too, and we didn't really see that. Obviously, he went overseas for a second start, and then the third start, he broke his maiden in the Skidmore. So you didn't get any indication that horse was good when you're breaking your maiden in a stakes race at Saratoga. That's a pretty good sign. But he had I don't want to say a lot of gate issues, but he did have some at the beginning. He was really, really rank, and I think a lot of people were kind of scared. And then he almost looked like a car that you can kind of just control. Stop, go, stop, go. It did get a little dicey at the end. But again, for the fractions he was putting up, it's fair to assume that he's going to tire a little bit. I mean, he's not he can't just keep that up for that distance. So it never really seemed in doubt until the end. But he dominated in Skidmore. Right after the race, they said they're looking at Ascot again. Down the road, if they can get him back overseas in a race that makes sense. So well-traveled, as you guys said earlier on. And I thought it was very professional once IRAD was able to get him settled down.
Ryan, Ricky brings up a good point that it actually did get close there. I wasn't worried. I think because at one point he was so far ahead that I was like, well, Golden Pal's got this and he's going to get a little tired here, but I'm not worried. When you were watching, did you think that there was a chance that Golden Pal might actually fall apart right at the end and get caught at the wire?
I don't know if I thought it at the end. I thought it was so weird, that move where they took up. I mean, it makes sense in retrospect. Clearly, they set fast fractions and clearly they knew what they were doing because they won. I was more concerned then, like what Aaron said with is he about to break down? And then it was just like, well, he looked much the best. What's kind of cool is you think the 14 hole was what everyone was worried about. How great would this horse have been without traffic somehow from inside post? He might have won by how much? He had to come all the way over, pull back. I mean, this horse was spectacular. Kind of reminded me of, not comparing it exactly, but like Newspaper of Record, where I got the chills about a 2-year-old horse on the turf where you're like, wow, this could be something special. And that's what I kind of wanted to ask all you guys, since you're experts on this, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering too. Freak beating a bunch of nothings, are these good? How do you assess this horse going forward? Because I know, Aaron, you texted me too. It's just you got that good feeling like that. Whoa, that was an awesome performance. And it was. So was he beating nothing? Special thoughts? What do you guys think?
I told Jared right after the race, we were watching the replay, I said, if there's a huge 5 furlong race out there anywhere in the country, this horse needs to be there. I think at 5 furlongs, they may never catch him ever. Like, he might beat any horse in the world. But I definitely do think that last furlong, he got a little tired. And I'm not saying he can win big races at 6 furlongs. Obviously, he did today. But I think like he's a true 5 furlong type, right? Even when you go back to Ascot, when he was at Ascot earlier in the year, he got beat there in that final jump, that final little bit, you know. So maybe his true elite distance is like 5 furlongs. But he's an awesome horse. But
I certainly think he's elite. I mean,
sure,
to answer your question, Ryan, I think he is. It's not any factor of, well, he didn't beat anything or whatever. I think he's totally legit. I just think he's, like you said, I think he's a specialist. He's a very particular, which means, considering who trains the horse, we will see this horse all over the world, because they will find those spots that match this horse's style perfectly.
Well,
by the way, Magic, we got to mention the trend continues 3 straight years. But you've had speed. It's 3 straight years. You've had a speed turf horse that's a low price that goes gate to wire. It's just this race is turning into, you're going to get one of those horses in this race every year, and you've got to play them.
It became kind of it was tricky at first when you started doing the 14 trends, because we had this new race suddenly. We're like, how the hell do we do it? And then it happened 1 year. And like, what the hell is the trend from 1 year? But you're right. Now this is continuing, and this is going to be a common theme that you hear on this show, and hopefully on the Saturday recap show too, where this 14 trends guide that Jared puts together, that's free at racenews.com. It's full of good information. This stuff really tends to pan out. We did get just a second ago joined by the great Vinny Blonde here. Vinny, we've all given our thoughts on Golden Pal here. I want to hear from you. What did you think about Golden Pal in this race?
I wonder how much he would have won by if he didn't if that little mishap there at the after the first quarter didn't happen. He looked amazing today.
Yeah. He was pretty loaded there. Listen, we're going to move on to the Juvenile Turf race now. I think we pretty much exhausted this one. As Dennis said in the chat, it was a freak that beat a bunch of nothings. So we'll move on to the second race here, the Juvenile Turf presented by Coolmore America. This is the one where I have the biggest issue with things. I really feel that Fire at Will took out about 6 horses out of the gate, and nobody seemed to notice, and he got away with Ricardo Santana Jr. got away with the Paco Lopez move at the Breeders' Cup, but he gets the job done 30-1. He was a 3-length winner, so aside from the 6 horses to his inside, he did a pretty good job of beating everybody else. He gets the 3-length win, 30-1. Jared, what were your thoughts when you saw Fire at Will making that big move in the stretch?
Well, I don't want to say it. I don't want you to edit it, but I will say F, because of the whole sequence of the whole day. This was the one that I just, any result that happened today, I got, you can make it. You may not have the horse on top, but yeah, I mean, you can make a case for the horse. Wasn't that surprising? But this one, especially when, I was all over. I had Battleground. You had Battleground on top in this race. To get second here, I liked Alador, I liked Cadillac, I liked Seal Away. It's like they were all there, and then this horse just goes by and wins and beats them all, and it was frustrating for sure, because I just couldn't get there. I agree that his price was higher than it probably should have been. Like, I think he got floated up big time, but at the same time, he was never a thought of mine to play here, and so it's one of those that you just kind of say, well. Shit, I never would have got there with that one.
Wait, can I ask you something? This kind of coming to me as you're going. If they ran this race again, we see the same result afterwards, in your opinion? Or, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't have got there, but would you bet him again? If we said, okay, we're bringing them all back tomorrow, they're fresh as could be, let's go. Would you still bet this horse? Or do you think it was just the way it played out is what helped him,
I don't think he's legit. I guess I don't know. I mean,
Well, it's you have good connection. I mean, Mike Maker is very talented with the turf horses. Three Diamonds Farm, they tend to team up with Maker a lot in these graded stakes races that we cover. But I'm going to go back again to the start. I mean, I think that the fact that he took out either directly or indirectly took out a bunch of horses from the start. I mean, you had Public Sector was a Chad Brown horse. He got pinched back pretty hard early. Abarta, New Mandate. The last three horses across the wire all got pushed back pretty bad. Seal Away was a horse that I know Aaron really loved. That horse took the worst of it. I mean, he had to go almost all the way to the back there. So I think because he got away with something that, depending on your jurisdiction, he might not have, and maybe not in the Breeders' Cup, he wouldn't have gotten away with on Fire at Will. That's my opinion on that. Aaron, what did you think?
Well, again, the theme of the whole day for me is happiness and frustration. The frustrating part is Jared and I, on the guide, we put together all these tickets and we ran 2, 3, 4, 5 in this race. So we didn't have the winner, but we ran 2, 3, 4, 5. That was great. And also exactly what you said, my top pick right out of the gate. It's like, well, shit, that's great. So, but I will say though, I listen, there's the Magic Mike show is so unfair to my boy, Ricardo Santana Jr. That's my boy. They absolutely hate his guts. And it's ridiculous. And now he's won with a 30-1 shot on the turf in a grade 1 race. Which if you listen to Magic Mike, that's almost as impossible.
I think that's
why no fans at Keeneland in 2020.
I think that's why Samich isn't on the show. He didn't want to face.
He didn't want to hear this. Yeah.
I was going to say, but Mike's harder on him than I am. I mean, I've taken my fair, shots at him, but Mike's the one that he sees Ricardo on a turf horse and runs the other direction.
Well, I am very happy for Ricardo. I like him. He's my boy. He's an Oakland guy. So I was happy Ricardo won, but that was where my happiness ends in that race because we handicapped that pretty well, I thought, and we just, I mean, sometimes you just get beat, and it's like, wow, we were all over it. We just didn't have that effing horse.
So I mean, it was a very deep field, and if you bought the Inside Track Wagering Guide to the Breeders' Cup, you could see the top 4 section. A lot of us were kind of spread all over. There might have been a couple of common themes. A lot of us liked Battleground or Cadillac or Seal Away. Nobody had Fire at Will, and for the second straight year, the Pilgrim Stakes winner goes and wins this race at the Breeders' Cup. Structure did it last year. Ricky, I want to ask you, Fire at Will wasn't in anybody's top 4. Did you even consider him? Because I know you really followed that New York circuit really closely.
Yeah, so he was the one horse that it's funny, everyone talked about, or Magic, you just brought up the fact that a lot of people went a lot of different directions, right? And early on, speed was holding well. And I think there was 1 or 2 races where it just collapsed. And I guess we'll get to Jackie's Warrior later on. But this was the feeling to me where I said, I don't like any of these European horses in this race. Once I saw this trend was going to be this way, because as we know, the Europeans like to go longer. They take a little bit longer to get going. And Ricardo definitely got away with, I don't want to say murder, because it wasn't as bad as what we saw, like you said, in my opinion. But if we're just looking at the race, Mike Maker, in my opinion, and after deeply diving into Saratoga and what he's done all over the country, him and Chad Brown, in my opinion, are the 2 top turf trainers in the country. No matter where you go, to me, they have to be in the same conversation. And I'll put Clement in there as well. But for the sake of this conversation, Fire at Will beat Public Sector with relative ease. So to Jared's point, this horse shouldn't have gone off at that price. But at the same time, I mean, after that poor maiden, he won on sloppy track and he came back to win in the Pilgrim, and he did it with relative ease. So this horse liked to be on the front end, sit right off, and that was the type of horse that you needed in this race. Like I said, I knew it was too late to obviously make changes, but it was really tough to make a case for these European horses that like to get their late kick home once the speed was holding on. And I tweeted something out. Mike Samich tweeted something out. It was pretty evident you have to be within the top half, maybe even the top 3, if you wanted to win for almost all the races today. So that was my takeaway.
I think somebody heard you talking about him, because joining us right now, live from Gulfstream Park, west or central or east, Mike Samich. Mike, you're just in time to hear us talk about your boy Ricardo Santana Jr. winning a turf race on the Breeders' Cup at 30-1. Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, miracles happen, man. Who knew? No, he had a good ride, and it was one of those spots where you kind of kick yourself after the race, because it's a Mike Maker horse, it's a Kitten's Joy. I mean, everything kind of fits. And you got 30-1, and somehow I wasn't on it, and that kind of was frustrating. I'm not going to lie. You also have the brown horse that ran a good second behind it at 85 cents on the dollar that was going off at 10 to 1. So there's a huge overlay on the 7 just based on those two horses alone. So yeah, a little disappointing that we couldn't get to that horse, and that was the one that killed me in the late pick 5 too. So thanks for rubbing it in, Magic. Really appreciate that, buddy.
Jared brought it up first. Don't blame me. He said you were running away because Ricardo won.
Well, at least it wasn't Ricardo and Santana on the turf. It was the Ricardo and Asmussen on the turf. If it was a combination of the two, I wouldn't have showed up.
So a part of the trends we talked about earlier, this is one of those that definitely bucked that trend. But something to address next year is because we had seen Americans winning this race 2 times in the last 4 years, now 3 times in the last 5 years. So maybe this is a trend we're starting to see. Of course, Euros dominated underneath, so kind of a fluky thing this year, but Structure in 2019 and awesome performance, and now add this horse.
Vinny, you've been kind of quiet. Any thoughts on this?
I mean, it would have taken me a little bit to get to the winner. I think I thought he was a little outclassed, but I thought Battleground ran a huge race to even get second there. He did not have the easiest of trips. I thought he was out. He was wide both turns, and when they hit the top of the stretch, it didn't look like he was going to go anywhere. And then he looked like he found another gear, and he ended up getting second. But like I think he's going to be one that we hear from down the road if it's not here. If you follow the European circuit, because he definitely seems like he's going to win a few more stakes in his career.
Well, you had you brought up something that happened with both of the Juvenile Turf races, where Aidan O'Brien seemed to have the only horse that could make up a bunch of ground on the winner. So we'll come back to that when we get to that race. But let's first move on to the Juvenile Phillies now. And boy, this race, if you like Simply Ravishing, you were probably ripping your tickets up about 2 seconds out of the gate, because she just blew the start, and you knew being buried on the rail, she probably wasn't going to be there. Before we talk about Vequist and her winning trip, and the fact that Nyquist won, her sire won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile over this track and course. She does the same thing. Aaron and Jared, you guys were there. And I know you love Simply Ravishing. When she bobbled at the start and got pushed way behind early, what was the atmosphere like both for you guys and just generally at the crowd there at Keeneland?
well, number one, there is no crowd at Keeneland. I don't think
crowd.
Beep, but
I didn't hear anything other than us saying the F word a few times.
Yeah, we looked at each other and we said, this is just bullshit, because I just got knocked down with a rail horse in the race before. It happens again here. And
what was nice is we were able, every race we would switch, the place is pretty much to ourselves. So we would switch like where we were sitting or watching a race. Mm-hmm. And this particular one, we were right by the starting gate, up above. So you got a good angle. And from the scratch, you're like, son of a bitch,
what really hurts about it is you see what happened in the race and it's like, yeah, she probably would have won. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes they don't, like Dennis's moment last year that broke awful and everybody gave that an excuse. But he didn't run a step the whole race. So it's like, piss off, he wasn't going to win anyway. This horse with the trip, I think, would have won because she ran very well considering what happened anyway.
Yeah.
So I think she would have won. So that hurts. But listen, it's the theme of the day. That is horse racing. We handicapped pretty well, but we didn't get a lot of breaks. And that was definitely one of them. We suggested a big win ticket on her. I'm very confident she could have won that race. I'll say could have, because I like the winner. I like the winner a lot. We'll get to that, I guess. But the atmosphere for Jared and I were, what have we done to cause this shit luck?
Yeah, who did you guys piss off at the bar last night? Jeez, you
that's a long list of people.
Dude, I don't remember that list. All right, so
I heard you were partying with the Irish contingency at All Dressed in Horse.
I think he has COVID.
Listen,
now,
no, I do have COVID, but listen. No, I will on Sunday, not tomorrow. I need to go to the Breeders' Cup tomorrow. Once we're done with these races, talking about the recaps, please remind me about my conversation with the Irish people last night. Go on.
Are you guys in the same hotel room?
Well, like, watch. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you keep waiting over, and I'm like,
I'll go through Ricky's head right here.
That's not creepy at all. All right.
Oh yeah, we're just
they have a king size bed back there behind Aaron.
No, that's 2 beds.
It's a double, one double.
Mm-hmm.
One bed's for the clothes and the other bed is
Okay. So on that note, Vinny, I'll turn it over to you. VQuist gets the job done. You're a New York guy. You got to see VQuist this year. Maybe not in person, but you got to watch her and feel like you were very close to her. What do you think about VQuist kind of turning the tables on Day of the Office? This is of horses that went first and second in their last start in a reverse order, and it wasn't really close. So what did you think about the return effort here?
I was for my tickets. I was very excited. Actually, I ended up hitting the $2 late pick 3 with VQuest, so that helped. I kind of wasn't surprised they ran 1-2, especially after earlier in the day. I forget the name of the horse that ran behind them earlier in the day.
Yeah,
I forget.
Race.
Yeah, the horse won and ran behind both VQuist and Day Out of the Office. Yep. And it was like, all right. And I think early in the card, a bunch of the horses coming from New York had done well. So it was like, all right, like this could happen. I did think though, like a couple steps down the stretch, I thought Day at the Office was going to hold on. Mm-hmm. She looked good. And then probably like 300 yards out, she kind of hit that wall and that was it. But no, I think they're both going to be exciting moving forward.
You're thinking Joyce Rocket won the Songbird Stakes earlier. Yeah. Yep. She looked good. And I didn't even do the math that was so focused on work that I didn't even figure out that was a horse that ran against them. Mike, I know that we've talked about these two fillies that finished first and second in this race. Kind of what are your thoughts overall on the Juvenile Phillies? What happened? And you had touched on in our text chain, the West Coast horses not really showing up, and Princess Nora, the 9-5 favorite, holding true to that trend about the favorites in this race not firing. Talk about this race, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the live show that Princess Nora. We were all shocked she was the morning line favorite. I think that kind of proved out here. She couldn't hang with these. The two winners today were Uncle Mo, who had either a winner or had the sire of two winners. This was Nyquist, one of those two winners of his sons. And the East Coast, man. I mean, the West Coast got shelled today. They did not win a single race. You had one horse that hit the board, and that was a Doug O'Neill Hail Mary throw that came home at 94-1 in second in the final race. And then you have these two horses that are coming from the East Coast that run 1-2 in this race. And this one was the one that kept me alive in BCBC. I mean, I had a $100 cold exacta here, 2-3, and I had a double going to the next race. And this is why I'm still kicking over there. But, this was one of those races. I thought the 1-2-3 made sense. And, it was one of those days where trips just made the race time and time and time again. You had a couple horses like No Word that just got absolutely no room, and that cost that horse the race. The one horse here, Simply Ravishing, probably the best horse, like Aaron said, never really got a chance to show it. I mean, broke poorly and then got cut off down the lane. I mean, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think we saw New York really show out today. I think that's a trend that we can kind of expect to continue into tomorrow. But I think Simply Ravishing is one of those you got to look at next time out and see what the price is here. And yeah, the West Coast, it's tough, man. I feel for you, Magic.
I do want to add, not that I don't buy into this shit all the time because, I mean, we hear it all the time, but McPeak was hot after that race. He was not happy with, apparently, and I've read the quotes after from Luis Saez. Apparently they lifted her tail up when they were putting her in the gate, and they never do that. And she freaked out. And as soon as she freaked out, Luis calmed her, pulled on her. They popped the gates. She misses the break. That's what he was saying. But again, I caught wind of that. The McPeak was rattling off to some owners or something, and so I kind of caught wind of that. But again, I don't buy into that. But I feel like I'll just spread the word.
Well, I always like when I hear from someone that for a big race that a trainer just gets really hot. I'll never forget when Aaron, you were at Oaklawn when Terra Promessa lost, and Steve Asmussen thought that he had that in the bag, and that was the first time I ever heard about a trainer just refusing to speak to a jockey after a race. The jockey was pissed. Talks to the trainer, red as the background on this YouTube page right now, just turned around and walked away. So that's a good one. Ricky and Ryan, I don't mean to leave you guys out. Did you have any thoughts here that you wanted to add?
So if one of the things we talk about, and Mike Samich, you talked about New York, Junior Alvarado was put to the test early by Joel Rosario, right? So Joel gets VQuist out to a really good start and forces Junior to really go on Day Out of the Office. I think the race was won by Joel right from the start. Obviously, Simply Ravishing didn't break well, but Joel said, let's get Day Out of the Office going a little bit quicker than she might want to, and we're going to sit right behind. And we're going to have that opportunity if she's good enough, she's going to pass. And Day Out of the Office did 99% of the work. I forgot who said it, but someone said Day Out of the Office looked like a winner, especially at the top of the stretch. And then you got to the 16th pole, and you kind of saw her wear out. But I think Joel Rosario won the race within the first 100 yards, just because he made Day Out of the Office maybe go a touch quicker than maybe she wanted to. And Junior Alvarado really had no choice. He had to put her on the lead. So I think Joel did a masterful job. We talk about the difference between a Junior Alvarado and a Joel Rosario. It's little things like that.
Ryan, what did you think about this race, buddy?
Well, we have a champion crowned, I think, right, guys? Is that official? Like, I mean, Vequist is going to be the champion, do you guys think? Because, okay, and then this is my thought on it, and I want your guys' opinion. I think this was actually a very promising Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies. Like, I cannot guarantee you that'll be this way, but from my view, I think maybe the most promising one since when Beholder ran. And a lot of those horses might not have panned out when Beholder won it, but that year it had that vibe. Like, we might see something special. And I kind of feel like this is a really strong group in that small field, kind of a testament to it. And ironically, I think the favorite finished last or second to last. I'm trying to remember right. It was out of there. But I kind of want one last thing here about Bob Baffert here. What are you guys? So yeah, go ahead. Just open floor.
No, ask the question. I want to be the answer.
I was going to say, Aaron's ready to answer, and you haven't even asked the question. I was going to say,
so I'm asking this question for people out there in racing.
Sure.
What they're probably saying to them, see, that's what they didn't juice her. I mean, I'm sorry, because maybe that's not what I should be saying now, but what's the discussion going to be, do you guys think? And what do you make of the discussion? Because we have to address it. This was a very big favorite with a very dismal performance. By the way, though, caveat to his credit or whatever, the numbers were kind of saying this could happen. So it's not like it's the most shocking thing, but I want to hear what you guys had to say.
Okay. I think the buyer spirit figures hold up, and Dennis isn't watching, but Dennis put something out on Twitter that reaffirmed why I really didn't like Princess Nora in this spot. And it's because of who was aboard.
Well, that's a very good point, Magic, and that's fair. But I think he would have had to pick her up on his back today for
not to take a shot at Victor.
Yeah, I know, right?
I get one every show.
So it's just ridiculous.
We didn't have them on the show sometimes.
Yeah, and Johnny Velasquez, I hate him. So there you go. So and most other jockeys, but. To answer Ryan's question immediately, I'll start with that. I'm saving that for tomorrow as far as gloating, but I feel good so far. I feel good. You know, tough luck, Bob, and I said hi to him today. I didn't. That's a lie. But I feel good about what happened to him so far. But I'm not going to get overly excited because there's two big races left, right? There's some good horses out there.
We're 2 for 2 so far.
We're 2 for 2. We need to go 4 for 4, and that's really the biggest thing in the Breeders' Cup for me. It didn't look good for Princess Noor. A wobbly leg, but at about the half-mile pole probably. Have you ever watched a horse that's stalking in a perfect position? And you look at her and you go, she's got no shot to win this race. Like
Uncle Chuck.
Dragon.
I mean, she never did anything. Like she was she just made her just walked around the track.
Yeah, no, I mean it was awful. It was. Go ahead.
But the funny thing is, like, if you look at the form, that was kind of obvious that was going to happen. Like that's the crazy part. Is this was a connections play. And, Ryan brings up this was a great field. I do think this was a solid field. 0 Pletcher, 0 Brown. You've got 2 McPeaks. You've got a Romans. You've got an Asmussen. You've got the winner is Robert Reed. I mean, the connection wise, Baffert took all the money because that was just where people are generally going to push it toward. But when you look at it on paper, this horse should have been the 5th favorite, not the favorite. So it's just crazy.
I love how Sam is shit on this whole field. He's like, yeah, you got to
I shit on the fact that it's not a traditionally great field. It could be a great field.
Well,
this isn't there's not any other connections in this entire field that take heavy money. And so Baffert really helps with that push.
To be fair, the one other trainer that would take a lot of money is Asmussen, but Asmussen had a really shitty horse in this race.
That is correct. Yeah, they went off at like 35-1.
Right, had no shot to win.
That doesn't help.
Exactly. So to Ryan's point, though, I do think there were some really nice horses. I really low key liked Vequist a lot. Here's the deal, and Vinny brought it up, and he's absolutely right. And we said it as soon as the 6 won the second race. We said, "Ooh, that's really good for Day Out of the Office and Vequist." But the thing is, the second place finisher came back to win this one, so that's kind of that's horse racing for you, right? But the stretch out, I think, really helped Vequist today. And I think the ride was just a crafty ride of the week, probably, was on Vequist. Yeah.
So if you could only own one horse out of this race, who would you want to own?
Simply ravishing for me.
Simply ravishing.
I mean, I'd sure like an Eclipse Award, so I might take Bequist, but then trade her for the other horse.
We got to get a hype man Eclipse Award. Then you can win it, Ryan.
To be fair, if I own the horse, I could change trainers, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
Well, then would you take Princess Northern?
Homage.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, tough luck, Bob. There he is.
I mean, he's already walking a different direction away from the horse. Like he already knows. I'm just going to get away from this. This isn't going to go well. Let's zoom in on that. What is in his hand here? Hold on. Racing Dudes investigates.
Yeah, what's he got there? Is that a needle?
We have fun on this show. All right, let's talk about the Juvenile Phillies turf. This is the race that I got wrong the most. I looked at the field. I saw a lot of horses that were sprinting, trying routing for the first time, and I thought, hey, this is a good time to try and play against Aunt Pearl, who looked phenomenal in the Jessamine, trying to go gate to wire, but used a lot of speed. And then she went gate to wire here. Nobody challenged her, and it looked like the easiest winner, even easier than Golden Pal. I was the one person seemingly that doubted her in this spot. Aaron, Jared, you guys loved her. Take it away.
Go ahead. Yeah, okay, I'll go. No, I mean, this one was. I thought this was more impressive than Golden Pal, to be honest. I thought this horse was unbelievable. You know, I think this was a sign that you. Like her numbers, we talked about this a little bit after on our way home. You know, then you couldn't really buy into the buyer speed figures and whatnot that came from her, and that was a lot that Halterman was kicking himself a little bit for not picking her because of using those against her. She just looked awesome. I mean, this is to me, she's right up there with Golden Pal in terms of are they going to try her overseas? You know, I think she was really good. Now again, no pressure. There's some weird rides in here that they just kind of let her do that. You know, it was frustrating, but it also knew that, you know, on all our tickets, that damn 8, man, I screwed up all our tickets. Aiden O'Brien,
mother bitch,
another horse that went flying late. The whole stretch run, I was like, man, we got this. Aunt Pearl's a lock. We know we have that on top. And then, Solomon's horse, Miss Amulet, and Campanelli, I was like, we have those in the 2 and 3. We're good. And then the 8 flies up, like, son of a bitch. It did not have that. And that was brutal. This is the most brutal, even though we were right about Aunt Pearl, brutal beat of the day, because that try would have paid huge if you throw the 8 out. But no, I mean, as far as Aunt Pearl goes, she was really good.
So yeah, again, happiness and also frustration. The happiness for Aunt Pearl, I've always liked her, and the frustration that I went away from her, and also the on top. We obviously had Aunt Pearl as far as a top pick winner. We had her keyed on top and stuff, though. I mean, we had her everywhere, and we were. Like when you're watching a race and you've got like a trifecta wheel or a trifecta key, and you've got that top horse. You start scaling back, and I'm starting scaling back, and I'm like, I see Miss Almet. Yeah, that's good. She's going to get up there. I see Campanelli. Surely she won't fade, right? She ran like a 30 opening quarter because she wouldn't go out there and chase the speed, which was crazy. And so it's like you're coming out of 6 furlong race where you're setting the pace, so you can't set it in a mile 16th. Really good ride, or mile. I'm sorry, but you're a good ride. But still, you're like, we're going to hit this, and then, yeah. So I'm happy for Aunt Pearl. I talked to our good buddy Kelly Von Hemel, and he's like, I was really high on Plum Ali from the standpoint of I thought she would get a really good trip. It's like she's like 35 lengths behind. I say I don't know either. It's stupid. Like these people are crazy. They're riding these horses, but I give full credit to Aunt Pearl. I thought this was like the most impressive, like you said. Well, second most impressive. We'll get maybe to the most impressive, but second most impressive on the card. You talk about a race that was over when they went into the far turn. It's like, yeah, well, this race is over. So it was fun to watch that, and I'm happy for Brad Cox. I'm a big fan of Brad. So
Guy just needs he just needs a little racing luck, and maybe he'll get one of these big races sooner or later. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
And what better racing luck, Mike, than to have a field of sprinters all stretching out for the first time, and none of them decided to go after. You kind of had the look on your face of how I was feeling that entire race. I also loved Plum Ali. I thought that the pace setup was going to really fail Aunt Pearl, and that Plum Ali was in a perfect spot. I was wrong, Mike. What do you think about this one?
I mean, I didn't like Plum Ali, so I was kind of happy about that part of it, because that was the horse that I was coming in here notoriously fading. So I'm kind of happy that played out, because I would have taken some shit there if Plum Ali had ended up winning this race. The Tory guy kind of got worked here, right? I mean, that's the takeaway, that the Tory were trying to ride in the U.S. got hurt because he went 5, 6, 7 wide on that first turn and got in a bunch of trouble. Like, didn't get in trouble, but the horse just fanned out. And when the 10 horse Champanelli didn't put any pressure on the 5, they ran a 25-second second quarter, then ran a 24-second third quarter. So they ran 49 for that mid-half, and then ran an 11-second next furlong and came home in 12. There's no way you're catching her running 11-12 on the two final furlongs home, going 23 in the final quarter. It was just over, and it's one of those, it's really interesting. I mean, Slim brought this up last year at the Derby, or 2 years ago at the Derby, with that middle fraction is what really mattered. Here they went really fast early, but then had no pressure in the middle of the race. And when you get that loose of a leader that just gets comfortable, it doesn't really matter how fast you went in that first furlong. It really matters how fast they were able to go in the middle of the race, how comfortable the cruising speed that horse was able to go at. And that meant that she had just a ton of horses. Aunt Pearl had a ton of horse coming home here, and Cox had himself a day. I think it was Aaron that called that on the original show there. Brad Cox was the one that was going to have a weekend, and it definitely started out that way. I really thought Miss Amulet ran well here. That was my one real opinion all day. And I thought she was going to get up for second, and then Mother Earth just came flying right on by down the lane. But this race was won in the middle fractions.
I thought it was funny to hear DeTore's quotes after the race. He was like, "Yeah, she just doesn't want to go that far." I'm like,
she went at least that far, going 5 wide around the turn.
Yeah, I'd say she went further than she needed to go. I mean, it's like, come on, dude. I mean, maybe go a little shorter. You know, it's like, no, come on.
Maybe cut the corner. Just throwing it out there.
Ryan, any final thoughts on Juvenile Phillies turf?
No, I'm so excited about the next race. I'm like dying to get to this because she just dominated. I mean, if you ran that race 100 times, she wins all 100. She was incredible, Aunt Pearl.
I'll take you under on 100.
Okay, maybe.
So we got the buyers back, and there was a little discussion in the chat about it. Some people thought because of how good she looked visually, she actually has the third best buyer speed figure. She only got a 91 for winning the Juvenile Phillies turf there. Sorry, Aaron just joined us back again. Aaron, you joined just in time because we're going to talk about your favorite race from the entire week or from the entire day here, the Juvenile.
Yeah,
this is the one time that Magic gets to sit here and just. Honestly, does it feel good?
We should let Magic take it.
Yeah, for sure.
You're the only person. I gave you a little heat yesterday for being the only person that screwed up our overall consensus for Jackie's Warrior. You're the one that screwed it up because you played the horse. By the way, the horse won. By the way, the horse looked unbelievable. So, Magic, you can take it. Go ahead.
You son of a bitch. You took away everything I was going to say. You did that on purpose. No, he looked great. I'm actually a little surprised you didn't join me on this team, Jared, because you were a guy that famously fell in love hard with Max Field last year, who was a Godolphin homebred, won the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, and was going to be your top pick at the Breeders' Cup. This horse did the same thing. Just a different trainer. What do you have against my boy Brad Cox?
No, it's not that. We played a contest with John, and I used this horse as well. I liked this horse a ton. Jackie's Warrior is why I did it, because I just thought that horse was just gonna be better. And another instance where the buyer and the speed figures failed. You couldn't go off that, and so I really liked Essential Quality. Dude, props for staying with that. I just couldn't. If Jack, he was my second best pick in the race, so obviously I would have picked him if Jackie wasn't in the race. But dude, when they hit the top of the stretch, I knew, like, oh shit, we're in trouble here.
So you talked about the buyer speed figure thing and how that it didn't necessarily hold up. And I'm going to disagree with you, because actually when we did the preview show for this, I said, if you look, buyers are exactly where Jackie's Warrior are, and he's 2 starts behind. So he's still further developing. And then this morning, I kind of put the nail in the coffin for you guys accidentally because I told you this stat that I'd heard where coming into this race, 19 of the last 20 juvenile horses that ran a triple-digit buyer and then made a next start as a juvenile, 19 of those 20 regressed at least 9 buyer points. Jackie's Warrior was far and away more than 9 points that he regressed here. The only horse that did it was American Pharoah. And so I said, I mean, if he's American Pharoah, he's going to win today. And that kind of put the nail in the coffin a little bit. And yeah, you guys still bet him, didn't you, Aaron?
Okay, man. That's really a low blow. I mean, that's hitting right.
I'm glad you took that to you.
That's hitting right in the old balls, man.
Yeah.
Wait. Magic also had Princess Noor on top.
Yeah, well,
So let's not stray too. Let's not stray too far. The West Coast
buyer
bias
really
is
hold
there.
up or not?
Oh, the buyers definitely held up in that spot too.
Yeah.
that was a bad one. No, that was good. Ricky, shut up. You're on timeout. Aaron, keep talking, please.
Magic can mute him. Watch out.
There's a point that I want to get after Aaron speaks. There's a point with Jackie's Warrior that I want to get to that might be a similar path, and I want to see what you guys have to say about
Ricky,
that.
why don't you go first, and then I'll take it away.
Well, okay. Well, is this path not similar, Jackie's Warrior, to the Magic and Mike Tis the Law? Loses the Jockey Club and comes back highly touted, 1 loss. Now it's not the same race. I'm not saying he's highly touted, but I'm saying we can look at this horse. I don't think Jackie's Warrior is the type of horse that people should be giving up on because of this start. That's my point. I'm not saying it's the same type of race, but I think a lot of people would say, oh, is Essential Quality going to be this much better down the road? That's why I want to bring it to you guys. Is Jackie's Warrior horse that you want back when he takes that next year and he gets, you would assume, more fit, more experience, more training, or did you guys see enough from him after the start to say we're good moving forward? That was my point in terms of Tis the Law. Tis the Law got better, obviously, and he struggled. And I remember listening to you guys on one of the Magic mics and said he had 1 falter, Tis the Law, but you still wanted him back. That's what I meant by the same path. I'm not saying because Jackie's Warrior, I'll make the case, is more highly touted as a 2-year-old than Tiz was. It's possible. I don't know. You guys can backtrack. It's just I wanted to know what you guys think of Jackie's moving forward. The horse was an odds-on choice. I just kind of want to see what you guys think.
Me first.
Sure.
First of all, shout out to my cousin Madison, 15th birthday today. So shout out, happy birthday to you, Madison. I hope you're watching right now. I think you are. So happy birthday to you. Hope you had a good day. So Ricky, to your point, I kind of think Essential Quality will eat Jackie's Warrior in the future. I really do, because I think as the distances get longer, Essential Quality is probably going to get a little better. And I don't know about Jackie. I think Jackie's really talented. I'm not like, let's throw Jackie's Warrior away, And I think, I looked at Jared halfway through when they're on the backside. And I said, hell of a time to try and experiment for your first time trying to rate against the best field that you faced. This is going to be a lot of fun. And it got to be a effing disaster. But, at the same time, the horse turned the corner, had the lead, and just couldn't finish. And I think it was just a combination of I really can't sit here and say it was a tough trip. It was just a different trip, something the horse wasn't used to doing. And I also think you got to give credit to Essential Quality, who I think is a pretty good horse. And, you look at the breeding and it's like, well, yeah, Frosted definitely, we're going to be able to go mile and 16th, maybe a little bit better than Jackie's breeding. But listen, I think this was the best horse that ran today for Essential Quality. And I think the sky is probably the limit for that horse right now.
That horse can run all day.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice horse for sure.
I bet Jackie's Warrior wins the Springboard Mile, goes ahead and blows up as a favorite in a Derby prep, and wins a Grade 1 7-furlong race at Saratoga next year, and is one of the top 3 choices in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I mean, eventually, what's going to happen is they're going to try and push this horse down the Triple Crown trail. He'll probably be drafted in the top 2 rounds of our draft, and the horse then will end up being a sprinter by the end of the year. I mean,
but it's funny you say that, because I was sitting here trying to think of the horse that he reminds me of as far as like what he turns into.
Mucho, a better version of Mucho.
Okay, he's a way.
Low bar.
You know, well, I like him.
better version of shoplifted because shoplifted won. The
He's
spring
a no.
award.
That's a no.
He's promises fulfilled.
I said better.
Way better.
He's promises fulfilled.
He's better than shoplifted.
No. I think Samich got it. I think he's promises fulfilled. Who was able to, if you gave him a
That's a
loose
good one.
lead or a loose lead.
Yeah,
That's a grade 1 winner as a
That's a
3-year-old
good one.
sprinting who is dangerous if it gets a loose lead going 2 turns, but it really needs everything its own way. And I think, it's interesting. The 1.5 mile marathon race and this race had some similarities. You saw speed holding, and so jockeys just sent like crazy in both of those races. You saw a 48.5 for a mile and 5.8. That's nuts. You saw this race where you had 4 horses lining up on the lead. None of them had a chance to end up winning. The 5 was able to sit right behind him, swoop around and get the win. I think this is one of those need the lead, has to be early or has to be in a sprint type horses.
Independent from Vinny. There you go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
You know whose opinion?
This year, by the way.
Yeah.
Number
You know
one pick, baby.
whose opinion I really want to hear about this is the man, the myth, the legend joining us now. Saratoga Slim is in the house, ladies and
What
gentlemen.
up?
Slimmy, boy, we're talking about the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. You were just as excited about Essential Quality winning as I was because you had faith in the Brad Cox machine. Aaron, sit down. What are you doing?
Brad Cox
He's making the bed.
That's what
Brad
he's doing.
Cox late double. That was the key. The Brad Cox late double. We've been talking about Brad Cox getting hot at the Breeders' Cup for weeks. Aaron, every podcast has said Brad Cox is going to get hot. Well, winning 2 out of 5 Breeders' Cup races is pretty damn hot to start off, and he has a lot of big shots tomorrow. So ride the Cox wave this weekend. That's the key.
Easy there. Wording.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's why Magic writes my headlines.
That's a good headline.
Ride that Cox, baby. Just ride them all weekend, baby. Ride it.
Ride the Cox all weekend. Yeah.
Pound it.
Pound that Cox all weekend.
Pound that Cox.
Spirit.
Pound Cox
You
all
gotta-
weekend.
The other thing that the Brad Cox obviously late double was a thing. I want to give Magic credit too. He talked about winners at Keeneland, winning at Keeneland before. That's back-to-back races where the previous race that they won was coming from Keeneland as well. So success over the track was another big angle that played out today.
Did you? I guess you didn't read my article, so in the guide. So that's like I wrote that like 14 times in the guide.
I got through like
Hey, horses that are good.
words, Slim.
Isn't it BC? This guy. I got to
Make it to the end.
the big money.
I mean, in his defense, he was trying to, he got through the first like 6,000 or 7,000 words, and then he had to, go play the BC today. So ride the Cox. Hey, Ryan, you've been a little quiet about this while we have our Cox talk here. Tell us about Essential Quality. So the trend from the Breeders' Cup guide that Jared put together, the 14 trends, has been that the winner of this race qualifies for the Kentucky Derby. So assuming we still have this in the first Saturday of May, is this going to be one of the Kentucky Derby favorites, Ryan?
I don't know if he'll be a favorite, but I do think there's a really good chance this horse makes the Kentucky Derby starting gate. And I wanted to point out some things that are just kind of interesting about the Juvenile. When you look at this race and you kind of go back through the years, the best horse tends to win this race. Like I was thinking the last time maybe a horse that won wasn't as good as the second place horse which used to happen quite a lot, like a Fleet Alex and Point Gibbon were second. And it seemed like there was a jinx there where like the best horse was the runner-up. But that sort of changed now was when Hansen beat Union Rags, right? But at this distance, Hansen was the better horse. But if you start looking at it, like last year, maybe the worst Breeders' Cup Juvenile I've ever seen as far as talent goes, right? But that horse was the best horse in the field, Storm the Court. It really was. When you look back in retrospect, it's hard to say. Right. It's hard to say that, right? Yeah. So I do think that the best horse won today. And here's and it's sad, but the best horse won today, and this was actually a nice field. I do think that the favorite finishing fourth is kind of testament to the depth of this field. And I do think there's one other thing with the Derby that I like to handicap, and it's this theory I have that like certain groups and trainers are destined to win this thing, and Godolphin seems like one of those. It's sort of unfathomable that they haven't won a Kentucky Derby when it's like the sun never sets on the Godolphin Empire. And they've come close. Like Jared, your big horse, Maxfield, last year. I mean, who's to say that horse wouldn't have won the Juvenile and maybe gone on to win the Kentucky Derby? I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from this year. That was a crazy time and all that, but he was a spectacular looking horse. So, one of these days you've got to think that Brad Cox is somebody, if you're riding the Cox, that's might have a chance to be a winner of a Derby. And so one of these days, you got to think Godolphin does it. So the question is, is this the horse to do it for them? They've got the money. They've got the depth. So I just want to hear what you guys think. Do you guys kind of think this is a connections that should win a Derby eventually? Because it's a very interesting horse, and he's clearly going to be the champion and favorite at this minute.
It's funny you're the way you brought that up, because I was reading the quotes, and Maggie, you probably saw this too because I sent them over to you. But they interviewed the managing partner or whatever of Godolphin that was there today, and he even brought up Maxfield. There's a couple things that you can know that, like, the Maxfield thing was disappointing, because I think they knew that they had a really good horse, and that, like you mentioned, that was their shot at a Derby. And now all of a sudden it's like, hey, we got another one here, and this one might be even better. And so, I think you're right. I think they want the Derby. And he even alluded to it. It's like, the highs and the lows. We experienced it with Maxfield with the highs and the lows, and now we've got this one. And so I think, Derby is 1,000. I mean, Cox, Bradley Cox, he even brought it up after the race, like, Derby's the goal. We're going to the Derby. Like, that's what they want, obviously. So, yeah, this, being a Tapit too, you got to think his horse is only going to get better. He should continue to develop, and obviously can keep, distance will never be an issue for this horse ever. And so, yeah, you got to think this horse is the real deal as they move forward, and honestly could get better.
Well, you bring up the Tapit angle, Jared. Tapits are notoriously head cases, and that can sometimes be the biggest reason Tapit himself was a head case, and that's a big reason why he didn't turn into a superstar when he was on the track. But this horse seems very professional, and that literally that word professional is all I've heard about Essential Quality since he won his debut. So this really could just end up being a big one. Yeah, I agree. I think he could be the next big trainer if he's not already there. My big introduction to him was when Monomoy Girl became such a superstar. But remember, you talked about Godolphin about how they haven't won the Derby. 9 months ago, Brad Cox had Mr. Monomoy, the half brother of Monomoy Girl, and that was looking like a potential Kentucky Derby horse. And so Brad Cox didn't get to have that because that horse got hurt. So you have multiple, the trainer, the ownership. Luis Saez still hasn't won, or I'm sorry, not Luis Saez. I was thinking of the race. Joel Rosario. They got all these connections that are trying to get to this Kentucky Derby and get it done. And this could finally be the chance that they all team up to do it.
It's really, by the way, hard to believe when they said on the broadcast, Steve Asmussen has never had a 2-year-old champion colt. Considering how great and talented he is with horses and the amount of just talent he gets. But that's another thing I just wanted to say right there was just if you think about it, Asmussen, Chad Brown, Cox, these are guys that it's hard to think will go their whole career without winning one. So the question is just which of these horses is going to be it? And so what did you guys think? Do you guys what do you do with this horse going forward? Do you think he's a classic winner? Where do you go from here with him?
I think it's interesting that Godolphin has spread out their horses so much. You see him with Stidham now. You see him with Baffert. You're starting to see him with Pletcher. You see him with Cox here. I think it's interesting that they're really searching for a Derby by giving their top horses to different trainers in different regions to try and just flood the Derby with horses. I think that Essential Quality is the best 2-year-old we've seen. I think that we haven't seen the best 2-year-old yet. I think we saw that this year. I think we saw that last year, where trainers are waiting to debut some of their best horses until their 3-year-old season. So I think there's going to be a lot of curveballs that are coming early in the year next year. But this is a deserving champion. This horse did everything that you'd want it to. Was able to win the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity before this. Some monster effort in this spot. So I don't see how you can possibly take anything away from this horse. And congrats to Saez too. I didn't realize this. This was his first Breeders' Cup win today. Which is kind of crazy too, because you'd think Luis Saez would have gotten one of these before, but this was actually his first Breeders' Cup win, and it comes in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
And to your point, Matt, to Samich, the last 5 winners, like I mentioned in the Breeders' Cup trends, the last 5 winners of this race, Storm the Court, Game Winner, Good Magic, Classic Empire, and Nyquist, all went into the starting gate of the Kentucky Derby, and Nyquist is the only one of those that actually got it done. And again, Good Magic probably would have without a freak or
Game Winner too.
That
trip was.
So to your point, very well could be in the starting gate. Have we seen the best horse? Maybe not. The odds say this horse will make it to the starting gate, no doubt. Odds also say we might be seeing another, a better one down the road.
Yeah, that's the thing. When it comes to those horses that are coming out of this, it's really a crapshoot, and it really comes down to did he peak too early? And then B, and this is really the most important one, will they stay healthy? I mean, you just never know.
That's the wild card, obviously.
Yeah, we're so early. That we're in junior high school right now with this crop, and we'll see what happens in high school and college. When we get to the Derby, it's like college.
And there's no way you can tell me Hot Rod Charlie and Classier are the two best 3-year-olds next year on the West Coast.
Hey.
There's
Hot Rod Charlie's by Oxbow.
We talked
Love Oxbow.
How about this? Any pick you get in the first round, Aaron, you can auto draft Hot Rod Charlie, and we'll give him to you.
No. But I do love Oxbow.
You won the league this year, and your pick was basically an auto draft this year.
Yeah, it's true. This would probably be better than your first round pick.
That's true. Because it's by Oxbow, and that horse is really great. Can I just do a real quick Brad Cox story? Because y'all don't know shit about Brad Cox. I know Brad Cox. I know him. Right?
Aaron knows Cox better than the rest of us, is what he's trying to tell us. Go ahead, Aaron.
Better than me. Okay. Okay. So Brad, he started with Midwest Thoroughbred.
Now it's Brad.
Brad
and I are friends. All right. Listen, I've rode it.
Braddy, baby.
Brad one. Brad trained a horse we had a piece of one time. 5 of them.
There you go.
They were all mules, by the way. Terrible job, Brad. My God.
Is that the story?
Brad and I go back a long ways, and then when I first started following Brad, he was training for Midwest Thoroughbreds, okay, and they had a huge conglomerate of horses all over the country, and they condensed really small, and they fired Brad, okay, and my dad and I were following Oaklawn. Brad was training $5,000, $10,000 claimers, all right, and we said, well, this Brad Cox guy who's new on the scene is done. He's done. Midwest Thoroughbreds literally screwed this horse. He has 2 horses at Oaklawn now that aren't trained by them. And here he is today. So let me tell you something. Brad Cox really deserves a lot of credit because he a lot of guys like Chris Richard, for example, he trained for Midwest Thoroughbreds and he's now training horses at Canterbury. And you guys don't even know who Chris Richard is. I do because I watch every track. And well, you do too, Samich, because you watch Canterbury.
But that takeout, baby.
Yeah, I know exactly. But Brad Cox deserves a lot of credit, guys, because he was left for dead by Midwest Thoroughbreds, and here he is winning Breeders' Cup races. I mean, it's really impressive. So
not only is he winning Breeders' Cup races, he's like the next.
I think he's one of the best. If not the best trainers in the country.
Well, if you had the trainer bet, like you had the jockey bet at Kentucky Downs, Brad Cox would have been the favorite this weekend.
Absolutely, 7-5,
yeah.
Right?
And if he wasn't, you would have just pounded the Cox train right there, right?
Right. You would pound the Cox as hard as you could.
Yeah. So, Aaron, that's a great story. You had told me that before, but I'm glad that you told that. So, Aaron is really good at figuring out when the Cox is going to end up, growing really big well before anybody else does. So, that's a really great story. Slim, we missed you had to drop out for a little bit there, but you're back with us. What are your thoughts on Essential Quality moving forward as a potential Kentucky Derby prospect?
Oh, I think he'll be the number 1 pick in the draft, I would imagine. I mean, he'll probably get 2 preps, and one of them might be the Bluegrass because he's been so good at Keeneland. So he'll probably have to do something before then. Maybe he'll run in the, Rebel, because that's where Cox said, or maybe he'll do like the Risen Star. Risen Star's a 50-point race, probably do a 50-point race, Risen Star or Rebel into the Bluegrass and then off to the Kentucky Derby. I mean, so you got to go with them, I
love it. Slim's already got it mapped out. I love it.
He ain't going to Fairgrounds.
He's going to Gulfstream. He's going Gulfstream.
Central Quality will be at Oaklawn, baby.
He's going to Oaklawn, yeah.
I'll put my name on that right after the race. I said, you bringing him to Oaklawn, baby. Come on.
I mean, Cox has strings at both locations, so,
Well, you got the early finish line at Gulfstream for the mile and 16th for their first prep, too.
That's where Jack
out there.
Holy Bull is worth 10 points, so I don't think he'll be in a 10-point race. If you draft him, you got to know he's not going to probably be in a 10-point race. That's just how it is with a big horse like this. Especially a Dolphin. They're going to bubble wrap him for the next 3 months. You won't see him for a while.
What is it? 20 points you get for this race?
Yes.
20. Yeah, so he has 20. No, he has 30 already because he won the Breeders' Futurity. So he has 30 points. He's already in the gate in most years. So
yeah.
So we'll see him in May.
So he has to wait.
I'll wrap his ass and get him to May. Or if
That's
they
a
run
Dwayne Lucas quote, by the way.
If they run
Dwayne Lucas used to say with his good 2-year-olds, he said, well, the media would come Well, what's next for him? Well, first we're going to wrap his ass in bubble wrap, and then we'll decide. Anyway.
Well, okay, so we covered pretty much everything from Friday, at least as far as the race action. For me, when I listen to these types of shows, what I like to hear is what lessons can we take from today and move forward. For example, Mike brought up the fact that the West Coast horses really just didn't show up on Friday. Could you extend that out to Saturday? There was a little bit of talk at the beginning of the day that there was a definite speed bias on dirt. I think over the course of the day, you saw it play out that good speed held and cheap speed fell apart. But Aaron and Jared, I'll start with you guys because you were there. What lessons can the better take from Friday and apply that to Breeders' Cup Saturday?
Can I start on this one just real quick? And this is strictly from a person who was there, and I'm not even analyzing data really, but the kickback on the dirt is something fierce. So I think you can close, but don't be inside of horses. I think you need to kind of be on the outside of horses. I think the weather is unseasonably warm. Like, it's very warm here. It's 70 degrees and it's usually 40. Like, it almost snowed during American Pharoah's Breeders' Cup in 2015. So I seriously, I'm being really very serious for a second here. I've joked a lot on the show, but I'm being very serious. The kickback is really, it's harsh on the dirt. There's like dust after the race that's like hovering over the track almost, right? I'm not being stupid. I mean,
we talked about, I noticed it, and we kind of talked about it after, like, oh yeah, I know, I've been noticing that too. It's, you can definitely tell that it seems like it's a little bit of an issue.
Bless you. So maybe you can close on this dirt, but don't be on the inside taking that. I think it's more of the kickback than you can't close on this track. You know what I mean? And obviously you got the best horses in the world, so some of them are going to be able to take it, right? The really elite horses. But if you're running a $15,000 claimer and they get that kickback in their face, they're not doing it. And a lot of these horses today, as juveniles, doing something for the first time, maybe they're in different positions. They're not going to do it either. But the kickback here is definitely it's weird compared to what I've usually seen at this track, and I think it is going to play a factor. So take that for what it's worth. But those dirt races, I'd be a little afraid.
Jared, what about you? Did you feel the same thing about the dirt track?
Yeah, it's funny because I had noticed it earlier in the day, and I never really said anything. I was just he brought it up and like, yeah, I've been noticing that too from the dirt side of things. On the turf, I mean, I'm kind of with you. It seems like if it's good speed holds, and cheap speed doesn't. And I didn't, as the day went on, I found less and less trends on either side of it, frankly. But as far as the dirt goes, I did feel like horses that were tucked inside and getting a lot of that kickback. We saw it, with in the Phillies, in the Phillies side of things, on the Juvenile Phillies, it was, you had an issue when they were tucked inside. When she finally got out, she was able to make a run, but it wasn't enough, So I think being inside horses, behind horses, they don't seem to be liking it right now. And again, I don't think it's going to change tomorrow.
Mike, what about you? You were watching from the racetrack, but a different racetrack. You were down to Gulfstream Park to watch this. I know you like to look for trends and biases in this because it's going to help you with the BCBC tomorrow. What are you taking away from Friday into Saturday?
I want no part of closer sprinting, not even a little bit. I thought that was the early races you saw. It was dominant. That one turn at Keeneland, the track is just not tiring. And that means that the speed is going to hold well. I mean, even in that 1 5/8 race that I mentioned, we had a 53-1 shot that set the pace. Dak Daniels, that horse held for third.
Yeah,
that horse sucks. It held for third. Yeah, and yes, Rocketry closed from the clouds, but it closed from the clouds wide and had a good trip before that. Yeah, sorry, it does. I'm sorry, it does.
No, you're right.
So the fact that 53-1 shot that isn't very good, that set ridiculous fractions, held for third, tells you everything you need to know about that track. And you saw in those first two races. Early in the day in the undercard, speed was very good. And then Amy's Challenge, I think, was one of the best examples. That horse was kind of washed, right? And Amy's Challenge didn't break on top, rushed to the lead, then kind of got it her own way and it was never even close. She won easy after that. And the fact that Amy's Challenge was able to do that tells me everything I need to know about sprinting on that track. If you're not within 2 lengths of the lead, you ain't winning.
So let me ask you, Samich, because I know you're against you're kind of voting for the Bells the One in the first Breeders' Cup race tomorrow. How are you kind of game planning that race now?
I'm nervous. Like, I'm a little nervous. It makes me think that like the 3 horse in that race, I can't remember her name right now. Someone help me out.
Speech.
Come Dancing, who's going to be closer, but going to be able to close. Now is more, it's like kind of takes a step up a little bit. Sally's Curlin, big step back because of the track. She's going to be coming from deeper than Bell's the One. Now that race may be the one, like I'm still going to, and I know Aaron and I went back and forth on this. I still think Caruana and Serengeti Empress burn each other out. And if those two burn each other out, then all bets are off, because if they go 21, 43, and 5, who knows what happens, right? Then you may actually have a closer win because they're going to fall apart. It's just too fast. But the way the track played, I think that Serengeti Empress gets a plus. I'm still fading Caruana like crazy, but Serengeti Empress, I think, gets a bump up. I think that Come Dancing gets a bump up because she's going to be a little closer to the pace. And I think Speech gets a little more interesting if Speech has the early speed to keep up with those two. So I definitely would want horses that are going to be a little closer. And Sally's Curlin, I think, is the big downgrade in that race now.
Well, he's talking about pace, and there's no one that knows pace better than Saratoga Slim. What do you think about the races from Friday and moving to Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think speed on the main track was holding, and even, the turf, there wasn't huge closing, I guess. I mean, that Monster, she could have won, and Pearl could have won on the front end. But yeah, I mean, I think it was playing pretty fair, because there was a little bit. I don't think you could be way far back. So we'll see. I mean, it could change from day to day too. That does happen sometimes. So you don't want to get too crazy. I think watch the first 3 races and see what happens. I mean, the Philly Mare sprint is such a mess. I kind of tell everyone. I'm kind of saying everyone should just not get too crazy about that race to start the day. If there's one race you really don't want to just dip your toe, have an action play, because I don't know. I just feel like it's really a screwed up race. It's tough to get a track just because it can mean and everything. It's just really tough to get a hold on that race, I think.
Ricky, you were one of the top picks for the sprint. Came down to pretty much you either like Diamond Dupes on top or you like Yopan on top. You were one of the ones that had Yopan on top. We expect to see him running right up front, right from the get-go. Do you feel better about your Yopan top pick in this race? And also talk about what you think about any trends to take over to Saturday.
Yeah, so I'll talk about Yopan in a minute. The one thing I want to talk about, I think Slim touched on it. Donna Brothers was out on the track and picked up a chunk of turf. So we're talking about the 2 turf races. There's more moisture. I don't know if anyone had seen Churchill Downs. It had rained bad multiple days in a row. That turf course will not be firm tomorrow. And if they listed firm, it will not be. There will still be moisture in that track. And we look at, if we're going to go back, I always like to relook at the card. Fire at Will broke his maiden over a muddy track, and Pearl had a good race over a good track, good turf course. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. As to Slim's point, you definitely want to be on the front end. I think even more on the turf. To Yopan's point, I think a lot of people are going to look at Nashville to start the card tomorrow and say, speed, speed, speed. Nashville's a different animal. Let's not look at Nashville and grade the rest of the card, because a lot of people are going to do that. A lot of people that haven't looked into it like us, or are just kind of opening the card for the first time at 9 a.m. or whatever, do not grade the rest of the day on Nashville's performance, because Nashville might be a paid workout. That's kind of what we're expecting. Right. And as you're saying, right, free square. I mean, 4 to 5 on the morning line. I think a lot of us, probably all 7 of us, would probably take that right now. So
he's 1 to 9.
Right. And that's my point. So let's not overreact to a potential gate to wire paid workout.
Overreact.
Right. Yeah. But to your point, I do like Yopan. I think that's a massive upgrade. I think he was correct. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. 3 to 1 on the morning line.
Right around there.
You're not going to see that. You will not see that. So I know Samich is huge into looking at the overseas markets and doing things like that. If anyone had a chance to get Yopan and you booked it early, congratulations, because you will not be seeing that come tomorrow. So
it's funny you mentioned that. I might have been looking something up right now.
Yeah, see, because you're just not going to see it. I think between
2 to 1 fixed odds.
Yeah, so it already dropped down. I don't even think you might get 2-1 tomorrow. I would assume not. I would say you're probably if you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I would say in that 7-5 range. You'd be lucky at 8-5, maybe 6-5. So I'm just saying, to your point, to answer the second part of the question, I think it's a massive upgrade for Yalpan moving.
I would love Yalpan to go off at 6-5. I picked him on top, and I'd fade him at 6-5. I think that's a little too short for that horse.
Yeah. As a face,
well, and that's the point too, right?
Face anybody.
And that's the point too now. So now you kind of have to. I'm a big Yalpan fan, but now you kind of have to look at it as like, does he get too overvalued? Like to Samich's point, like. How much is he going to get hit now that you have to go back the other way? It's that fine balance where if you're playing win wagers, obviously that's still a horse you might want to single. Maybe you don't. Maybe you could find a price. But I'm saying if you're going to look at a win wager, you're now going in the other direction, to Samich's point, because that horse will now get hit based on the trends, based on a scratch, based on whatever you're looking at. That horse will not be anywhere close to 3-1 on the morning line. So you might have to look in other directions if you're going to play a win bet.
Yeah, there's going to be value on closers tomorrow. But as Aaron says, it's only value if the horse wins. So you got to kind of to walk that fine line, because you're going to get a higher price than you should on some horses tomorrow because of the bias or the bias, right? But you're going to get a better price on horses like Sally's Curlin tomorrow that you probably should get a better price, but you have to kind of figure out exactly where to tiptoe on that wire.
Ryan, I'm going to let the last question go to you here. When we did the preview show, one of the questions I asked was which trainer is most likely to throw up a goose egg, and we all said Tough Luck Bob. He threw up a goose egg on Friday, and everybody kind of thought that we all kind of agreed that Princess Nora was his most likely single winner on the card. Saratoga Slim with his Tough Luck Bob bobblehead there. Yeah,
what's in his hand there, Slim?
Triple crown, man.
Let's zoom in again. So anyways, Ryan, Bob Baffert goes 0 for 2 today. He's got Gamine in the Filly Mare Sprint. He's got the 3-headed monster in the Classic. Does Bob Baffert go 0 for 4 tomorrow with the Breeders' Cup Saturday and go 0 for the whole sequence?
Honestly, he definitely could, but I will tell you this. I think you're much more likely to see Bob hit the board with something. I do, because I just think if he doesn't, man, I would hate to be Bob Baffert. I would just hate to be him the next day. I'm just saying, I'm answering your question with a caveat. I really think something's got to hit the board for Bob Baffert. I mean, how can you have this good of a contingent and nothing hit it, and it'd be like, well, I guess next time I'll try. That would be that's going to be an S storm, dude. I don't even know, man.
Well, and Aaron's going to be right there with his phone just recording the whole thing when it happens, too. Well, it all goes down. So
real quick, just to if everyone's going to fade Baffert, I'll ask Aaron, because I know he's Bad Luck Bob. How do you like to Ryan's point? How is he like? Someone's got to hit the board. Could you find horses that wouldn't, between Improbable, Authentic, and Maximum Security? Could we find 3 or 4 horses that are better than them? So I think he almost has to hit the board.
I'll say this: I think the key to him winning tomorrow runs through Gamine. I think Gamine either wins or she's dead last, and I am towards the dead last side of it 100%. But let's just pretend for a second at 7 furlongs, this horse is just an absolute freak, because she kind of looked it in her other races. This is a much tougher race, much different setup. But we kind of talked, we thought Ann Pearl would get pressured, right? What if something happens and she's out there on her own and she wins? I mean, I think he has a better chance to win that race just because of the what if factor. I'm not sure his horses are good enough to win the Classic. But to Ricky's point, and he's right, he has to hit the board in the Classic, right? Like one of these horses have to get up there. Board. I'm thinking Gamine's
over Tom's, over Tacitus, the triple T's, trifecta.
Triple T's, baby.
That's it. Triple T's, trifecta in the Classic.
You'd have to use by my standards. You'd have to as another one.
The T though.
No. I'm saying to not use the T, you'd have to use by my standards and say he gets in there.
You could make a good case for Global Campaign. I thought he did a good job on our show. I think you could see Global Campaign sprinkle up there into the try, or even get frisky.
I tried to bet Andy Serlin. I said, I'll take Tacitus, you take Global Campaign. And he said, no, I like Tacitus. I said, I'll take Tacitus. And I was going to bet him $50, and he said, I'll take Tacitus too. So I said, all right. Thought I would get him on that one.
I only saw one side of that conversation because Andy blocked me a long time ago. When I said something.
Andy loves me.
I said something nice to the dudes once, and then Andy blocks me, and then here we are 4 years later. So
I went out for dinner with the dudes, and Andy was sitting next to us with Seth Clareman, right?
Yep.
What restaurant we were in?
Yeah.
And then we got up on the street, and he's like, "How you doing, Mike?" I'm like, "Hey, what's up, Andy?" These guys know me. I get around town. So tomorrow, let's talk about tomorrow. Live stream. Are you guys going to do it or no?
Listen, I think we can do it. The thing is, it's like Jared and I are at the track, so it's a different dynamic. And Samich is working as well as he's trying to fucking win a contest. So
I'll host it with Ryan and
Magic's also working.
I think.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, my job is
There's big stakes at Woodbine tomorrow.
Listen, I think Ryan and Slim and Ricky should be on.
If Ryan,
I can get the high schoolers. I can get the high school and college kids on. I'll bring that. I'll bring that demographic. I'll bring like the 15 through 21-year-olds.
I'll bring the old people.
Slim, can you handle hosting?
Well, you guys have to show me how to do this. You have to give me the right to like host the thing. But, I'll be crazy. You should see this setup. I got a crazy setup. I have 6 screens in front of me right now. Actually, 7 screens if you count my phone. Yo, I'm gonna have the craziest fucking Breeders' Cup telecast ever. I'm gonna be talking.
I'll get it.
We'll get mad guests. I'm gonna invite random people I know off Twitter to join.
I got a quick question. Did anyone watch the like solo horse cameras today on TVG? I didn't get to see it because I was watching the Keeneland feed. Did anyone see it? Was it cool? Was it
Ricky talked about it earlier.
So yeah, I watched the entire thing on my laptop. Obviously, I watched on the big TV with TVG, but then I went through all the jockey camps. I thought and I was saying before, I think it was the best thing that the Breeders' Cup did. I didn't know if they had it in the past, but just obviously 2% of the people there, 5%, whatever it is, a lot of people aren't. It was great. They had jockey cams. They had a little VR cam. If you have those VR goggles, it was great. And I assume they're going to do it again tomorrow. If anyone's watching or is going to tune in, I definitely recommend you try all those options out for at least one race and check them all out. You literally you're watching a jockey camp, and it's awesome if you're into that type of stuff. So, yeah, they have everything.
I'm just laughing because could you imagine you're on a date with a girl? You're like, hey, I'm into these jockey cam kind of. I'm that kind of guy.
Hobbies.
Wait, go ahead.
I was gonna like we were talking about the classic and one of our buddies and does and works with the 10 strike or owns 10 strike. Marshall Graham put out on Twitter the classic Distaff and Turf based off the 2-day doubles, and it's basically what the odds are based off of those doubles that we're seeing right now. Tom's Diatot, the favorite at 2.6, Improbable at 3.5, Tizelaw 3.5, Maximum Securities at 5, 7.5 or 7, almost 8, 7.8 to Authentic. Those are your top choices there. By my standards and the rest down. But
I'm scared. Tom's Tacitus is 20-1. I'm scared. His Tacitus is 20-1. And I need him to get down to 16-1 so that what bet I made with Samich 2 months ago.
Looking for some value, some race day value.
Yeah, race day value. I just need him to get to the same odds that I got on him 2 months ago.
Well, hopefully Vinny has a good undercard, so he bets way too much on him to win and fluctuates it down for you.
Yeah, maybe if Mott wins every race, he'll go down.
Yeah, right. It is super interesting to see Tom. I feel like getting hammered right there. I don't believe that. I still believe Improbable will be the favorite, but if Tough Luck Bob continues to have tough luck tomorrow, maybe he won't be.
All right,
I would love those odds to hold up.
Can I do this?
I'm
gonna practice. Can I practice?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I could share the screen, can't I? Hold on one second. Can I do this like this? Hold on.
There needs to be a tutorial for tomorrow.
I'm not sure if I'm prepared to teach.
This is gonna be a long night. Oh my goodness. Hey,
I'm sharing the screen, but is it showing up?
No, you got to scroll down. You have to scroll down. I'll tell you later, Slim. Here, this is what Slim is trying to share.
So look at this. I got the welcome. I'm not going to go any further, and then I could zoom in. Dude, I got crazy screens. You don't have to understand.
You don't want to give away the entire guide like I did on our last
I'll
show.
bring this over here. I got Twitter up. It's going to be amazing.
All right.
I tell my Irish story.
Yeah, well, yes, we're gonna get to that. I want to do. We'll do one last thing. I just want you just give a 1 or 2 word answer. I want to hear from each of you. Your best bet, your mortal lock for Breeders' Cup Saturday. 1 horse, 1 race. Aaron, start things off. Aaron's not ready. Mike, go ahead.
I mean, chalk eating weasel Mike says Monomoy Girl, but that's not fun.
Nope, that was it. I said 1 horse, 1 race. Jared, go ahead.
Well, that was gonna be my answer too.
I mean, she's gonna win. It's just not fun.
You can double up.
Give me a second.
All right, well, Jared's out. Ryan, how about you? Who's your lock tomorrow?
Well, I was gonna go Swiss Skydiver, but I don't think she's a lock. But I just can't take Monomoy Girl. I can't. Someone's got to beat the Cox. Someone's got to
beat that Cox, man.
Beat the Cox.
Ryan hates Cox. Ricky, how about you?
Yaupon.
Yaupon. All right, Ricky going with Yaupon. Slim, who is your mortal lock tomorrow?
Mortal lock. I'm just trying to look at my article here. Give me a second.
All right, Slim's not ready. Aaron, are you ready yet? Go ahead.
Listen, Monomoy for sure. How about Tarnawa? I'm going to go Tarnawa.
Even with the jockey change.
Listen, I have never even heard of this person that's writing. Like,
wait, can we talk about Magic? Let's talk about that story. Remember when I said I didn't know who that was, and I thought his last name was Simeon, like Trevor Simeon?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, who is this guy? And you're like, yeah, you weren't going to get it anyway. I looked up every French jockey in the history of French jockeys, still couldn't get him. So it's good to know I'm not the only one. I didn't know who he was.
Colin Keane is going to be replacing Christophe Soumillon on Tarnawa. He was the Irish champion flat jockey in 2020 and also 2017. So I think he knows a thing or two about that, but it's going to be a little interesting. Jared,
he's 12 years old, by the way.
But
he's Irish. Yeah.
No, I think he was talking about me.
No, he said
12. I got a lock.
Oh,
I got a lock.
Slim's got a lock.
Knicks go tomorrow.
Knicks go.
You mean
I'm gonna go with the horse of the year.
Brad Cox.
Is the law, baby.
Slim's all in on Tiz the Law. There we go.
I mean, isn't Nashville the lock? Really, if we're all being honest.
Well,
I thought we were a non-breeders. I thought we were doing Breeders' Cup.
As Halterman so eloquently put it earlier to me, that horse could fall down, take a nap, get back up, then carry the jockey. Then the jockey could carry him, and the horse would still win.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you 10-1 on that.
Said all that,
but listen, everybody is loving this conversation. Thank you guys so much who've been joining us. It's been over an hour and a half. We really appreciate you hanging out with us on Breeders' Cup Friday. Listen, the fun just started. We've got all of Breeders' Cup Saturday still to go. So go to racenews.com. We have the previews for the distaff, the Classic, and one other race. I can't remember. What else did I write about? I don't know. Go find it. It's on racenews.com. While you're there, there's still time. If you didn't get it, if you didn't buy it yet, the Inside Track Wagering Guide to the Breeders' Cup is available, still for sale. So make sure you check that out. All of the insight, all the conversations, the fun stuff we gave you here, it's all right there. Plus all of our top 4 picks. Gentlemen, any final words before we close things out and get ready for Saturday?
Can this be my story time? Or are we
this was me setting you up for your story time. Yes.
Oh, yay. All right. So we were at a bar called McCarthy's last night in downtown Lexington, and every Irish person from overseas that were coming here for the horses were there.
It's an Irish bar.
Yeah. And so we sent Dr. Miranda and we said, find out who those people are, because they were all 5'1". So it's they're jockeys or exercise riders, one of the two, right? And so Dr. Miranda goes in and she finds out, and she's like, oh yeah, they're with Aiden O'Brien. They're with this guy. They go down the trainer list, right? And so one dude, I see him later in the night. I was like, hey, Dr. Miranda talked to you. He's like, yeah, she said you had a website. I was like, yeah. So we talked for a while. He said, here's the deal. This is all you need to know about the European horses coming over here. He said, Battleground's really good. Well, ran second. Shitty ride, or could have won maybe, but ran second. So I think it checks out that this is pretty good information. He said, tomorrow, Mogul, don't Mogul off a ticket. Do not leave Mogul off a ticket. Magical, world-class horse. We'll see what happens. Tarnawa. That was the 3. That was the 3 that he said. He said, and he also said a lot about horses that would run shitty today, and most of them did. He was like, Mighty Gurkha, I'm going to walk that horse in the paddock. He sucks, or she, I don't know what he is. And then like all these other horses, like Battleground's the only horse you need to worry about today, is what he said. And guess what? Battleground was the only one that really ran really good.
Yeah.
Right?
The three horses you just gave out are all in the same race, so
and they're all good, but we knew they were good, though, didn't we?
and they're gonna be the top 3 choices.
Yeah, didn't we know they were going to be good?
Magic,
I was throwing like, yo, there's a 20-1 shot in the fucking turf sprint.
Mute them right
This
now.
is breaking news, guys. These horses
He
are.
gave it. He gave it.
The 3 classiest horses in the whole.
At the Irish bar. Nobody cares what Slim and Ricky has to say about these Irish horses. I heard it from an Irishman. An Irishman.
I watched this tape on. I watched the guy on video. This guy's actually touching the horse.
Whoa! All right,
Yeah.
Slim.
Listen, wait,
Yeah.
hold on.
Please
He
don't
gave us
screen
a
share
5.
that.
He gave us a
Can I
5
finish
to
the story?
5
Can I
to
finish
2,
the
6 to
story?
1, and 4 to 1. All
Can I
the top
finish
3
the story?
choices.
Can I please finish my story?
You may now finish your story. Yes.
Right after he talked to me, he passed out. He took 2 steps and he hit face first right on the ground. So
That was
I said, hey, thank you so much for talking to me. He said, no problem. I'll check out your website. Step, bam, right on the ground. Face first. I saw it. It's bad. He's got a move for something.
Was he bloody?
So bloody.
that was so worth the wait. That was so worth the interruption, the wait, and then we get to the end of the story there. Jared, any last thoughts before we get to Saturday, buddy?
No, I mean, just I can't really top that. So
Nobody can.
tune in tomorrow. We'll do this again after Saturday's
Bam.
big action. Maybe it sounds like Slim and Ryan and Ricky, and maybe let's see if we get Vinny on to do some hosting during the racing. So just check it. Make sure you subscribe to Racing Dudes, all the social accounts, so you can get alerted when we go live. But no, I mean, I'm excited for tomorrow. I think the big money's to be made tomorrow, so I'm excited.
Perfect. Slim, I know you're excited for your big hosting debut tomorrow. Any last thoughts?
Yo, join us. I think we'll start around 1 p.m. Should be the plan. We won't cover the Philly Mare sprint or the turf sprint, but we'll come right on for the dirt mile. What do you think about that? Or you want to go on at noon? Because it's 9 o'clock for Ryan. I don't know.
Ryan, what do you think about that?
I mean, you guys are welcome to. I might not be up yet, but I can.
All right. So we'll wait till 1 to get Ryan on. And what about you, Ricky? You down?
Yeah, 5 hours is a little long. I could do 1.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. 5 hours could be a little long of a show.
Maybe.
So 1 to 5:15 might be enough.
And then do 2 hours on this later.
4.5 hours might be enough.
Yeah.
Or we could do. We don't have to do the
Well,
the Philly and Mare Turf is at 1:57, so maybe we could do that.
What time's the classic on? Is there?
5:15.
I'm just.
Be on for the classic.
You just want to come on for the class?
Yeah,
We'll come on 2 minutes before that.
Come on at 5.
I'm going to host my own show by myself.
You and your Twitter
No
friends.
one's coming for my commentary, Slim. They're not like, oh, let's.
High school
I don't
kids
know
aren't
if
up by
anyone
1 in
can
the
listen to me
afternoon.
make my
either.
bets the whole day.
1, 2.
You might. It'd be tuning into a beautiful mind. You'll be seeing all my bets come to fruition. I'd be like, oh my God, I just thought of a trifecta box that's going to blow his fucking brains out.
Imagine though, guys, stop just a second. Let's be serious. Imagine you've talked to a guy for half an hour, right? And he's sitting right next to Christoph Simeon the whole night, and then he's in my face talking to me. I got COVID now. And then you talk to the guy, and he goes 1, 2, bam, right on the floor.
Slim, he probably has COVID. Are you worried?
I'm worried that Aaron has COVID now.
Yeah, he does.
Oh no! You guys are not wearing masks at this bar, supposedly.
No, not at the bar. We didn't know.
Shocker.
Slim, if you
They
walk,
should be shutting all this shit down. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
see, people in New York
130
and New Jersey
cases,
know how to
30,000
behave.
cases in one day.
if you walked in this
Whatever,
bar,
man.
you would not know COVID was a thing.
We're all gonna get it eventually.
Anyway,
All right. Vinny says he's going to join, so we'll see everybody back. Like Jared said,
Nice.
follow the racing dudes on all of the socials. Make sure that you're paying attention, because who knows what the hell's going to happen. I don't ever know 2 seconds into this show what's going to happen. Thank you again so much for joining us. Make sure you go to racingnews.com. We'll have all the recaps available and the race replays. And hey, guess what? If you had fun listening and watching us do this, we're going to come back and do the same shit tomorrow night. So for Aaron Halterman, for Jared Welch, for Mike Somich, Saratoga Slim, Ryan Slim, and Ricky Pasternak, I am Magic. Thank you so much. Enjoy Breeders' Cup